Hey,
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing?
Doing good. Looks like you and I so far.
Yeah. Well, we're early. We're both very early,
Oh, is that right? Okay.
but that's okay. It's only 25 after, and I left everybody on. You're the only person I talked to. Oh, I talked to Michael
Mm-hmm.
Castiglione, but he wasn't sure if he was coming or not. Because he's got lots of stuff going on, and I left messages for Ed and Jeff
Mm-hmm.
and Connor.
Okay.
So we'll see who we get.
See how it works out.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I guess I should turn on a little light here.
Well, you could if you'd like. My light's behind me, so I might be in the shadow if I turn on more light.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There I
Nice,
am.
nice, nice and bright.
Nice and bright, except I can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, that could be a problem.
Uh,
So, and I'll go grab my phone and see whether I heard back from anybody on my phone. But we're definitely still early, so. So you making it through the pandemic okay?
I hope so.
Yeah,
So
you're,
far, so good, it appears to be.
yep, you're still here. I'm still here.
Yeah, actually, haven't done this in a couple of days.
So you say what about a couple of days?
I said I haven't checked my uh, lungs in a couple of days here.
Check your lungs. Oh, okay.
To see if I got my blood, I guess it checks to see if
Oh,
you got the right, if you don't have the right number. Oh, pretty low there.
well, you checking sugar?
No, it checks your blood pressure and your heartbeat and your, um, I guess, how much oxygen in your lungs.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's it. How much oxygen is in the lungs?
Well, I hope you have good oxygen.
Yeah, well, that's a sign you're still gonna live a couple more days.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, that would be my guess for you, is that you still be hanging out with us for a while.
I hope so.
I
My
would hope so
plan.
too.
Yep. And I guess I'll just let it work its way up.
Well, so do you have to take blood to do what you're doing, or you just set it
No,
next to your
this little
skin?
device here. Oh, can you see it? Put it
I
on
can
your
see it.
finger.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that'll check your pulse. Like if I go to the doctor, they put something on it, checks my pulse.
Right, and it's also checked your heartbeat, I guess, and it checks how much oxygen in your lungs.
Hmm?
And so it says it's good to have a lot of oxygen in your lungs.
Yes. Well, there you go.
This one don't seem to be. It's like I ain't got as much as I used to have.
Uh,
Oh, there it goes. Amazing how this thing works. I guess it goes right through your finger there and checks the blood.
pretty cool. It's cool that it can read. I can understand how it could get your pulse, but it's
Hmm.
interesting that it can read other stuff
Right.
right through your finger like that. So it's very cool.
Gonna get cold tonight, it says.
Uh-oh.
It's pretty cold now, actually.
Do you know what your thermometer says?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah, I'll get let me get my phone. My phone will tell me things. Well, it says 68 right now. So it's not too, although it says 43, going down to, I guess it's going down to 47 or 43. It says there was a low of 43. I don't know if that's tonight or last night.
Well, it says tonight there was going to be up north, I guess, up further in New York State, it's going to get pretty cold.
Well, 43 is pretty cold.
Yeah, I know. I'm not used to cold anymore.
Yeah. And then a high of 67 tomorrow, so fall is coming. And a high of 61 on Friday with rain. Holy smokes.
There we go. 95.
Oh, well.
I'm gonna live.
95? Is that your oxygen?
Yes, my oxygen.
Good.
Oxygen.
Good, yay.
Okay.
That sounds good. Well, so we're at 6:32, and so people were supposed to be on as of 6:30, and I'm not quite sure what to do about people that, I did leave a message for everybody. I didn't get positive confirmation from people, but anyway. So
email from what's her name?
Well, Ashley sent an email. Is that who you mean?
Yeah. Ashley.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Ashley's the town of Woodstock. When you look at your screen and we're on Zoom here, Ashley's the town of Woodstock. Well, so the main question, David, that I would have is for you. I know you and Ed were working together on telecommunications, and do you have any? Is there any news? I know what you said 2 weeks ago when we met was that you and Ed you were doing research of what other towns are doing. And that Ed was drafting drafting
the rules, the code.
That's right. Ed's drafting the what's the words, right?
Yeah. He had it all done, as far as I know. And I guess he'll, show it tonight, or probably email everybody a copy.
So
30-some pages long.
So yeah, it would be nice if he would. But have you talked to him about? So it'd be nice if he were here to talk about what he was doing.
Yeah, well, he'd be here as far as I know.
But you think he's done?
Well, I mean, he's written the code is all written. I guess it's got to be everyone's got to look at it and see what they say and all that sort of stuff.
Right. Okay.
So you need revision.
Well, I know that because he's working. Well, Ed was working two things. He was working the telecommunications, and also he was working the water. But that would be a different thing. So what he's done is the telecommunications.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, hi Connor. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Entertaining guests in a bit, so. Best I've been in about half a year.
You're doing what for a bit?
Entertaining a guest.
Hey, well that's good. That's kind of like back to normal in a way.
We're getting there.
So yep. So I know you finished your quarantine. You were talking to us last time about you never tested positive for COVID, but you wound up with a quarantine.
Exactly. Meg is still testing positive, even though she seems to be over it.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's just how viruses generally work. So we're not super concerned yet, but we're keeping an eye.
Right. So okay. Well, good luck with all that. So anyway, so back to David. So, and I guess we figure we can actually have a meeting with three. I think we say three is enough to actually do business, even though it'd be nice to I'm not sure who else is coming. So anyway, again, David was just saying that Ed has drafted the words for the telecommunications, and that you're thinking
regulations, yeah.
On the regulations, right? And you're thinking that he'll send this around to people, is what you expect.
Well, I expect everybody on this committee to be looking at it and see what they.
Yeah. And there's Ed. Yay! Hi, Ed.
The top of his missing.
So we have an important core. We have an important core of our group here. So anyway, I'll call us to order. Not too bad. 6:35. We're doing better than last time. We started at 6:40 last time. So 6:35. The purpose of this meeting is to just check out the status of things. And let me just make my notes here. So we'll go over. I'll share my screen. Ashley, am I able to share my screen? Well, I'll see if
yes, you should be set.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to share my entire screen, and we'll try to quickly go through business because I don't think we need to. We don't have a lot to do tonight, so we'll try to make it efficient for everybody. Let me go first off. So we'll do agenda first. So I sent out the agenda not too long before the meeting. So the agenda the plan for today is open the meeting, which I just did. The first thing we'll do is adopt the agenda, and then we'll approve the minutes. And the plan for the agenda for tonight is just talk about the active items, because we agreed, I know, Ed, you were not there last time, but we agreed at our meeting on August 24th that we would work these items before initiating activities on remaining items. And in fact, even the housing was kind of in a separate category. We agreed last time we would really talk about the telecommunications changes and the status there, the natural resources changes. Connor was working scenic overlay, and then I've been working with the housing committee on housing changes. But what we agreed was to not try to cover everything. We agreed that we were going to focus. So we're just going to go through the status of these things. And then future meeting plans. At some point, we'll talk about the Hamlet area stuff, but we really wanted to get our hands around the things that we've been active on and not try to start too many things. We want to kind of get completed on some things we've started. And so these are the future is the other stuff. So the not yet started stuff will be later. So really, the main topic today is talking about status of where we are with things. So do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Yeah, I'll say.
Yay, David.
Second.
Yay, David and Connor. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I thought I heard an aye. Okay.
That was me.
Yeah. Yay. Yay. Okay. So then I'll pull up the minutes that you may have already seen. Although I did just send them out not too long ago. So I'll bring them up so that you can look at them here if you didn't see them. So our last meeting was August 24th. Attendees all but Mike and Ed. I talked with Mike today, and he hasn't been coming to our meetings. He's got some things going on personally, so I'm not quite sure when or if we'll see Mike, but anyway, we haven't seen him for a while. But he is working through some things he has to work through personally, so that's kind of what's going on there. Anyway, open the meeting, adopt the agenda. I'll just let you guys read through these if you haven't already. And I'll scroll down when you're ready.
Good to go.
Good deal. All right. So I'll scroll down so you can see down to adjourn. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Yay, Connor. Anybody second?
No second.
Yay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Did I hear an aye from you, David?
Yes, you did.
Yay.
Well, maybe I better get closer to the microphone.
Okay, so, and I can see everybody off to the side here. So anyway, so we've done that, So Ed, before you joined, David was talking a little bit about, again, we just want to talk about the status of where things are. And I know everybody's a volunteer, so it's no rush. It's good for us to know what's what. So Ed, what is your view of how much for the telecommunications zoning changes? Where do you feel that you are? Because you were the one drafting those changes. What percentage complete do you think you are, or don't you know?
Well, it's a very complicated subject, and we've done a lot of research in zoning laws in various towns and states. And there is, I talked with one town board member, there's probably a need for a moratorium on construction of cell towers in Woodstock until we deal with the small wireless facility problem that we're facing. I understand that Verizon is attempting to work with a property owner in Bearsville on a new cell tower. And a lawyer that lectured to us said that Verizon, he alleged that Verizon in other locations is attempting to build towers saying that it's for 4G when it is actually for 5G.
Okay.
And that therefore, that'd be one reason for the town. And there's a lot of Verizon trucks all over town now, I'm told. But anyway, it is probably incumbent upon the town to declare, like they did for the zoning moratorium back in when we rewrote the zoning law. They had a moratorium on new construction, and they have a moratorium of a few months on construction of cell towers or small cell facilities, such as are required by 5G, which requires an abundance, a lot of antennae. So we have a zoning law that I forget, I think it has 29 pages of language on telecommunications. So in order for the town to save money and not to hire somebody to redo the entire telecommunications section of the zoning law, is to keep the first part of the zoning law section on cell towers like it is, because those deal with large cell towers. And then we have small wireless facilities is a category that includes 5G and 4G, where more and more antennae have to be built to facilitate the implementation of the small wireless facilities. So I worked with Dave, and I came up with 44-page zoning law change, where it's divided into two. One is the current zoning law that deals with large towers, and we've added a section on small wireless facilities, which includes 5G. And then, following the recommendations from various people that I consulted, they suggest you write a preamble for the reason for why you're writing a law. So I have borrowed language from various preambles around the nation and wrote a preamble for both sections, for the tall tower section of the zoning law and for the small wireless facility section of the zoning law. And with small small wireless facilities coming more and more into vogue and more into play, especially Verizon, but there are three main companies now that are doing 5G rollout. And Verizon is the most active one here in Woodstock area. So I think, and I suggested to one town board member that the town board declare a moratorium on cell tower construction until they have rewritten the zoning law to deal with it. And there are things that can be put into the zoning law to control implementation of 5G. That is, you minimize, you set the standards for how close an individual antennae can be to any other antennae in the 5G network.
Right.
But Connor has brought up an issue of doing it like they do in Italy. In Italy, it's all hardwired, the last half mile or the last mile of a wireless network. It plugs into, when you send wireless communications into a town or a city, it's done by either fiber optics or copper wiring. And we need to have a position in the town of Woodstock that the town seek, at least for its hamlets and historic preservation districts, hardwired telecommunications system. So that's another issue. So I'd say that's basically, so I have a 44-page draft. We need to polish it a little more, but Dave and I have created a 44-page new draft for the Woodstock zoning law.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So what do you, now our next town board meeting is usually the second and the third Tuesday, but for this month it will be this, it's the second Tuesday happened and it'll be the fourth Tuesday. So do you, if we were to do a moratorium, I'm trying to figure out, might it make the most sense? Well, I don't know when you think that the 44-page draft, which of course could be bigger or smaller by the time you're finished polishing it, I don't know what month you're thinking you would be releasing that for review. Will it come for review to this committee first and then go to the town board?
I don't care who looks at it once we get it polished, but the issue is this is a very complicated situation of law, because you have big enterprises like AT&T,
right,
Verizon, and one other whose name slips me. They just amalgamated. There's three main companies doing 5G.
Right.
And they're very powerful. So we'll need whatever draft that Dave and I come up with. We'll need an expert, somebody who can look at it and see that it has legs, because for instance, we are putting a provision in it to allow for the town to cause a testing of the radiation emitted by a particular tower or antennae to see if it is within the federal guidelines, because it came after a bunch of research, it became obvious that many towns and cities do not have a way to test antennae to make sure that the radiation from them are within federal guidelines. And one of the health claims against 5G is that it has a peculiar radiation that it impacts on health.
Right.
We can't state that in our zoning law because the Federal Telecommunication Act bars it. You can prevent antennae in historic and environmentally sensitive areas. You can prevent it, but you can't just blanketly prevent something like 5G throughout a township. You get thrown right out of court. We may all be against it, but you can't just blanketly ban 5G. So so what the town needs is when Dave and I come up with a draft of the Woodstock zoning law. See, we're saving money for the town by keeping the first part of the telecommunications section of the zoning law, keeping it sort of like it is. We added a preamble to describe the reason for regulating cell towers, but kept the big tower section so that we could save money for the town. Because one thing, this attorney that lectured us whenever it was, July, said he likes to see the whole code and read through the whole code. They can run up a law bill of $50,000 for handling the telecommunications section. I was trying to figure out ways to save the town money, keeping this first section more or less like it is, and dealing with small wireless facilities such as 5G in a new second part of Section 260 of the zoning law.
Right.
And that's what Dave and I have been working on.
Oh, okay. So, okay. And that sounds good. I thought that guy had like a fixed price, though. I thought he had like $8,500 to do this for us, but I thought he wasn't a by the hour, but maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate your approach.
The $8,500 was for his presentation.
Oh, I thought, okay. I thought that he had some fixed price, and I thought that was covered, but that's okay. Never mind. I always appreciate what you're doing, and you know far more about it than I do. So that sounds good. Now the moratorium, you didn't come across any good wording from other towns on what a resolution for the moratorium might look like.
Yeah, there are one or two. Cobbling together a moratorium resolution is not hard to do. You would just take a couple of towns and figure out the language you want to use and use it.
Did you find some?
Well, the city of Albany has a resolution. Anyway, there's something in the city of Albany, and there's something in Massachusetts, some towns, and there's a town in Pennsylvania. So there is language in various towns that we could put together something. But it's just an idea. I brought it up with a friend in the town board, and they know that this, the board has a lot to do, and doing it has to be carefully worded, and it has to have a specific end, beginning and end, like a 6-month moratorium. And then when that happens, then the town has to hire an attorney. I don't know if Rod Futterfest can do it, but an attorney who knows about these things, to go through the language Dave and I come up with and see if it has legs and see where it needs more work. Because some of these telecommunications laws are very, very lengthy. I mean, the one Dave and I've come up with is 44 pages, but an attorney could, they can spin a law 1,000 pages long if you let them. So
sure.
we need a condensed real world law that regulates this, because a lot of people want wireless communications to expand. Our telecommunications committee has come out against supporting the spread of 5G, but also at the same time urges the town to open its arms to wireless communications.
Mm.
So, and that's Jerry Washington. He came before us, I don't know, in March or sometime.
Right, right, okay. Okay. So as far as a resolution for the town, is that something that you're willing to draft up, or did you want to provide me with some copies that you've gotten from other places,
No,
and I'll
yeah,
draft it
I
up?
can do a good draft with Dave on
Okay.
a moratorium, but you know, it's the board that has to see it as a necessity. Maybe maybe there's not a majority on the board that sees it as a necessity, but at the same time, a reputable, honest attorney that's checked out. See, the attorney has to be hired to shepherd the new regulation through. Dave and I can't write a law that passes muster with the courts. You know, we need, but I'm not sure this guy, what was his name, Campanelli?
Right.
You know, he sounds good, but, you know, before he's hired or anybody's hired, they have to be checked out because it's a perilous universe. You don't know who represents who's, I mean, he may be totally honest. I couldn't hear anything about, except he wouldn't tell us. He's working on 2 towns in New York State to help them write their telecommunications language for the zoning laws. And all of a sudden, this guy with an incredibly sharp memory could not recall the names of the 2 towns that he's helping, because I suppose he thought we would contact them and see how he's doing or seeing what he's charging. So that flagged in my mind when he wouldn't tell the group that was there the towns he was working for.
Yeah. Okay, all righty. So I guess my thought is, I don't know offhand how each town board member would vote on a resolution such as the one we're talking about. But I do think that if you've got one drafted out, then I can review it with the different board members. And as opposed to me trying to talk with them about it, I think if I have it in hand, then I have more to talk with them about. So, I mean, if you want me to talk with everybody first and then say, okay, now do the resolution.
We can do a draft because I have exemplars of the right language, I think.
Right. And if you do that, then I'll take it to my peers on the board. And I suspect that I suspect it would have support, because a lot of people, I think everybody agrees that, you know, whatever wireless comes in needs to be safe.
Right.
So,
you know, and I keep reading language that 4G does a good enough job right now. Instant communication, good television, good movies, good images, good art, good design. You know, and it doesn't have the health characteristics of 5G.
Right.
It may turn out to be that 5G is safe, but there are plenty of places that have banned it.
Right. Right. Okay. So that sounds good. So you and Dave will draft a moratorium resolution. I will definitely help sell that to the board.
But you understand, when the board votes say a 6-month moratorium, they are going to have to work to create, or work with me and Dave maybe, or anyway, they have to work to get an expert. I don't know if there should be Campanelli or not, but it's an expert and attorney,
right,
to help the town come up with a set of regulations that will pass lawsuits, and that don't violate the federal telecommunications law. And there's
Right.
all these new provisions that towns are allowed to put into their zoning law that have just come up the last few months or years. So that those things which I tried to put into the 44-page draft that Dave and I did. But who knows? Maybe there's things that we left out, or maybe things need to be polished. I don't know. But so the town, what I'm saying is the town has to commit to getting an attorney or somebody who's an expert at this to look at what we came up with to see
Right.
if it has legs.
Right. Well, and I'm sure, I mean, the town board are yeah, they're people too, right? They're not going to automatically know who the expert attorneys would be. And I think this probably, well, it's probably not Rod Futterfast, but we'll need to figure out who the attorney ought to be. So I hear you that's, and the issue I can say already is going to be, where are we going to get the money to pay for an attorney now? This is not a good year for budget because a lot fewer revenues have come in from things like sales tax. So it's a bad time to say, well, let's shell out some money that we didn't shell out before. And I don't know how expensive an attorney would be. So, but I hear you that we need somebody who can make sure this will all be legally sound. So I agree with you, it's needed. It's an unfortunate time in the
way to pitch
history.
it to the town is that there is definitely this small cell, it's called small cell facilities, small wireless facilities, and it's a separate set of regulations. And I've tried to save the town money by saying keep the first part of the zoning law on telecommunications,
Right.
which deals with large towers, keep it more or less the same, and only write small wireless communications section that will cover these little antennas that they want to put everywhere.
Right, exactly. So, okay. Alrighty, sounds good. Yep. Now I appreciate the effort to save money, as you said, by keeping the large the same as it was. So we'll check that out. Okay. Anything else you want to say about? And thank you very much for what you've done. So as you say, you've got 44 pages. It's a draft, and you're still working it, and it'll need to go. Should it? While we wait for the attorney to get lined up, should it undergo review by this committee at all?
Yeah, sure. When we're satisfied, we work on it, and it shouldn't take too many more sessions of polishing and checking it until we can show it. It's ultimately got to be showed to everybody, so we don't have any problem with that. Just like we'll work on it a little longer.
Okay. And then hopefully in parallel, see if we can be getting get an attorney.
Well, maybe you could reach it. You ask Butterfast if he has any ideas on a real sharp attorney who is not a ripoff, or who will do it an honest job and really knows the law.
Right.
And it could be this guy Campanelli. It could be the one. I don't know, but I don't think we should take anybody at face value without checking them out.
Right.
This is $1 billion thing. This wireless communication.
Yeah.
And there are struggles going on all over the world about this 5G thing. And Verizon runs television ads every night promoting 5G.
Yes, I haven't paid attention to who all is running the ads, but I know that there are 5G ads on a lot. So, alrighty, sounds good. Anything else you want to say about the telecommunications?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, that's certainly the most important thing. So I've also got you down about the natural resources aquifer. You probably haven't had a chance to really do anything with that since you've been focused on the telecom.
I have. I'm in touch with Ken Panza, and
Right.
we have just about ready to go an aquifer protection overlay map and the language. I mean, we have basically the same language from February 14th, 2017, 14-page water supply protection law. But we want to, Panza feels that the planning board is more likely to approve of something based on the Horsley and Whitten aquifer map. So we are going to use that as the basic map for aquifer protection, combined with the language from 2017 that Steve Winkley helped us put together.
Right.
So that should be ready in a few days.
Excellent.
I have to have more telephone conversations with Ken Panza. We talked over the phone a couple of days ago, and he just sent me today the Horsley and Whitten map. So I'm going to take a look at that and make sure that's the basis for this good basis for the law that we wrote.
Right.
We were involved in that, and
yes.
a bunch of us wrote. We worked very hard on that law.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And you were very active in it, and we want to get this package ready. And
yes.
As soon as Panza signs off on it, I think we can present it to the zoning board, the zoning revision committee.
Okay, excellent. Excellent, fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. You've been a busy guy. You were a busy guy without all of this.
That's right. So
definitely busy with. So okay, all righty. Sounds good. So let me move to Connor then. Connor, I know you were going to be working on scenic overlay changes, item 4. Any news on that, or I know you've been a busy guy too.
Yeah, well, I had a little bit of a setback. I had to have my computer replaced, and so I lost a bit of data, but I worked on it enough to remember what the wording was, which is, bear with me 1 second, sorry. Let me see if I have it in an email or anything. Anyway, the short of it was, as it pertains to the scenic overlay, or on a case-by-case basis, the planning board has the authority to request, or I was going to say require. I thought require sounded better. So the planning board has the authority to require photographs be provided, in parentheses, aerial, ground, etc., at the time of work or just prior to work being done. By a licensed operator. Right. And that was, I felt, something that would leave it open, and the planning board can fill in the rest with what they want and need from something like that.
Okay.
But the crux of it being to address the issue by acquiring documentation at least before. Now, the other iteration I had of that was to say, before work begins and after work is completed. And I thought, and that's the one I'm leaning more towards. So just to repeat, that was as it pertains to the scenic overlay or on a case-by-case basis, the planning board has the authority to require photographs be taken, aerial or otherwise, by a licensed operator before and after work has begun and been completed.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. I mean, it sounds good to me. So I know you say you're still tidying up the words, but that sounds good. So in terms of scenic overlay changes, that's the main change you're looking for. Are you looking for anything else scenic overlay wise? It sounds like that which is a relatively, which is not a huge change, but it sounds like it can significantly help the problem that we're trying to solve. So,
well, the other thing I feel needs addressing, although honestly, I'm not sure who we talk to about it, if not just, uh, an accountant maybe, is I think it's in the same section they outline a fee schedule or a fine schedule, and it's wildly out of date. I mean,
right.
if we just have that be brought up to speed for inflation, it might still have some room to grow considering the clientele we're talking about, because we
Right.
want this to be a deterrence, not just a minor,
Right.
not just the ticket not to a movie,
Well, right. And like we were saying before, not just the cost of doing business. We want it to be a deterrent, not just, oh, this is the cost of doing business. I pay $100 and well, we're done with that.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
We need to have something, right? Okay. All right. Sounds good. So you're working those things, and sounds like, and that's really nice that for the scenic overlay, it sounds very, very appropriate. So that's.
Well, yeah, and it also gives us the opportunity to use some more modern techniques to document this process. And I think David Lack said it, whoever they use, they can still keep these photographs. They could also be probably provided to the assessor's office or something. There's all kinds of great application for both us and the owners for having photos like that done.
Right. And I'm just going to read again the comp plan description, which is what I have here. Strengthen and mitigate the visual impact of structures. So we said a couple of things here in terms of what the goal is. Should we strengthen and mitigate the visual impact of structures less than 300 square feet of floor area? Because I think we're saying, so I think one issue was the 300 square feet of floor area seemed like it might be too big of a clip level because a lot of things, but then we talk about cutting significant trees to improve the view, regulations strictly enforced and higher fines considered, which I know you just talked about that.
And the thing is, when you look in the law, there are vague, attempts to, I don't want to say, vague isn't the right word. I'm sorry, but wishy-washy attempts to mitigate those things by saying just that. They had things to, the visual impact, but there's no actual procedure or ability for us to, document that. I shouldn't say ability because we're trying to work around one now. But so getting at it from a point of we document what's there before work and what's been done after work, and then update, and perhaps depending on, it's not, I don't know that if it's in our purview to suggest exact numbers for fees, but to just update that at least to account for inflation, and then to look at expanding it, and perhaps if we did that, modeling it after the DCP. Where was it? We were talking about modeling it after, and we couldn't get in touch with that guy. He didn't want to come talk to us.
It was either DEP or DEC.
Yeah, I think it was the DEC, because I think the DEP was more water related.
Well, DEP is New York City. You're right. DEP is New York City and like the reservoir, the Shokan Reservoir. DEP cares about waters that flow into the reservoir. DEC cares about all of New York State environment, water, air, air, land, and water. DEC cares about air, land, and water across New York State, and DEP is New York City focused on their reservoir waters.
Okay, well, that is the short of it. So that is in essence my submission. I can try to hobble that down once I get my computer situation squared away. But that's the only other thing, and I don't have my copy of the law with me at this very moment, but I want to say it's like 260, 64, 100. or something
Okay.
like that for the fee schedule, and you'll see. I mean, in whatever it was, 89, that may have made sense, but
Yeah, well, I had a note down here, the zoning law 260-100, reference that for penalties/fines.
okay. So then, yeah, it was 260-100.
100 as well. That's what I have in my notes.
Okay, perfect.
So the one thing that I did, I think that you've done a really good job covering what we're seeing here. Although the one thing that I don't really see is whether we should strengthen the scenic overlay about visual impact of structures less than 300 square feet. Because I guess the clip level, there was some discussion that the clip level of 300 square feet was too big of a clip level, because even less than 300 square feet, a structure can have a negative visual impact. So, I mean, one option is, just because the comp plan says, look at this, doesn't mean we have to agree and doesn't mean we have to do it. But I just, since this was in there, I'd like to know whether or not we're going to do it, whether or not we want to say anything about the 300 square feet, or whether we think it's just not.
Well, I mean, the thing, we want to balance, like, we don't need to stick our hand in every pie up there, but at
Correct.
the same time, how that 300 square feet comes to be, how it's oriented, and what floor it is on could all have, an impact on whether or not,
Right.
I'm sure less than that could be visually impacting if it's already on top, if it's the third story on a whatever house, but
Right.
how we go about that, I suppose that's it. We have, I think, direct exclusions for decks and pools and things that are going to go in the ground that would just decisively be below the tree line. But
Right.
I guess that would really ultimately be the quickest way to address it, is to say that, 300 square feet, can be, or I think we had talked about reducing it to 200 or 150 even. But I think one of the more important things was saying, if it comes in so much of a margin of the, or exceeds the margin of the tree line of the canopy,
Right.
then it needs to be assessed, and perhaps depending, I don't know who you would refer to that, but that would definitely be something for the planning board. That's where I think I landed at that last time, was that it really depends on, because like I said, if you put it on the second floor and all of a sudden you have a 300 square foot addition like some people have done, then that's a lot more impactful than doing a pool or a small garage
Right.
off to the side of an
Sure.
already existing house.
Well, and
So
where it is in the view line too, where it is, can you
yeah,
see it? Can you see it from?
so I think that would be the fix to that is 300 square foot additions that either increase the elevation of the building or project, or exit the pre-existing visual, again, I keep going to margins, but the pre-existing visual boundaries that exist now.
They might say pre-existing visual impact, maybe. I don't know what the
Yeah,
impact
pre-existing
is.
visual impact. Yeah, anything that exits those two parameters would not be subject to that exemption. If you're gonna build a new story, the planning board has to take a look at it. If you're going to expand an existing story, the planning board has to take a look at that. And at any point, they could come and say, okay, this is fine, but then if they get these pictures taken at any point, they can use them as a reference to show how this will be done. So and so that, and then we've got that going. We take it from there, and this all starts to fall into focus.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So, all right. Well, I just want to make sure that, since that was part of what the comp plan said, that you were thinking of that. But I appreciate, it sounds like you have some really excellent thoughts on this. So we'll let you do your thing. So all sounds good. So I appreciate that. And then I will go.
We did agree that the number would go from 300 an addition exceeding 300 square feet, we agreed to that we're in favor of 200. You know.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my notes from our meeting. And,
Okay.
So I can take a look at that.
And
Okay.
and maybe to develop specific language about tree cutting. You know, it says, you know, it bans commercial logging, and it requires an owner to respect the land contours. There's no real specific language about preservation of trees, you know. And
Yeah.
so I don't know.
And I
Ed, I'm
even
having
had
a hard time hearing you. Bear with me.
Yeah. What? So, and I had my notes that we even considered, you know, so I guess I had in my notes we consider perhaps 550 square feet, but if 200 is what we agree on, that's fine. I know we were talking, I didn't know if we had confirmed what we wanted it to be.
Do we have a cage for that?
A cage.
Oh, no, not you, Laura. Sorry. Nothing weird, I promise.
Okay. So that's all right. So I had put in notes from David Lax in here, and I was just looking. Yeah, and we put, and I haven't sent this out for a while because I haven't put it down all my notes from all the meetings here. But we did talk about the fines again. That a $350 fine made people stop and think, but now it's not an impactful amount, and that we might want to have fines of 700 or 750. So, because Jeff Collins at a previous meeting had gotten out an inflation calculator. So we might want to, so as far as discussions we had, we talked about fines being 700 or 750 rather than 350. So these are some of the comments that came out of.
But the only other thing is that, you know, I can't, and again, I'm sorry, I don't have my copy of the law, but it seems that, like, unless there's a frequency to that, like for every day in violation or for every day that work is continued, it's still, I mean, we could raise that to 1,000 and it still wouldn't stop most people. But is that a per day fine?
I doubt it. There's probably a one-time fine. I doubt it. So,
I mean,
okay.
that's so, I mean, and again, I couldn't get in touch with him. I tried multiple times, but understanding how the DEC does this would, I feel like, be a huge help to us, because that's what we're talking about, even if it means like referring it to them or something like that. But I guess that's only for their protected land, so never mind. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, all sounds good. So thank you for that. Sounds good. Lots of stuff being thought about. So it sounded like we were talking before about doubling the fines. Let me just make a note here over here. So doubling fines was thought about. Just make it fines for inflation.
What has to happen is somebody's got to print out a digital copy of that 266, whatever, 265, or wherever the change overlay is, and then put in, underline or in italic, new language.
Right.
And then when we present it to the town board, they'll have something to work with.
Yeah. So you were getting a little faint, Ed. So you're saying that what Connor should be doing is he should get digital copy of the zoning law, and he should be underlining what he's adding and should be crossing out what he's.
You go through, you keep the language that exists, and any language you change, you strike it out. You put a line through it with your computer, and you add the new.
Understood.
You know, 200 feet and $700 fine, $1,000 fine.
So what do you do? So the change language that's already there, you strike through, and for the language you add, how do you know?
You do it in red.
Either that or you do it in italics.
Well, I guess the reason why I'm asking Ed is because Ed has done this the most, so I think we should be consistent as a committee.
Sure, sure.
So Ed, the new stuff you're saying should be in italics.
That's what I've done with but some people do it in bold. In other words, you have to strike out, put a line through the language to take out. Like with 300, you strike 300,
Right.
and next to it in bold or italics, you put 200.
Right. And then
Yeah,
when you put
yeah.
the
So
200,
so basically, if I was going to change, if we look at item number 4, what's up on the screen right now, I would strike out 300, add 2 in bold, italics, or red, whichever we all deem fit. But I might also add on the other side of that, strike that period, turn it to a comma, so long as it does not exceed the existing visual, the approved visual impact,
Right.
or increase the elevation of the structure.
yeah. So, but again, so the changes will be in italics. And are you making your italics bold or just italics? You're not doing it a different color.
I didn't do it in color because some people don't have color printers. So,
Right. Okay.
so
True.
I've been doing it in italics, but you can, because some of the headings of zoning sections are in bold. So
Italics is fine.
italics are rarely used.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you strike out, there's a strike through thing on your computer.
Right.
And it
Sure.
makes it clear that goes.
Right. Okay. And that sounds perfect. And I like your point too. Well, not only does not everybody have color printers, but also some people are colorblind. So we have to remember that too. If you color code things, you're cutting out part of the population that can't see it. So new stuff in italics and change stuff straight through.
Sure.
So sounds like a plan. Okay. So, and then the last thing was, I've been to, well, the housing changes, we had agreed at the last meeting that housing is not going to, we're not trying to do housing in the first clump of stuff because it's going to take a bunch more research. But I have gone to, I've been to 3 housing meetings so far. I've been to a regular meeting of housing. I've been to a housing meeting of, the housing, there are 3 people who is the zoning subcommittee of housing, where it was just the 4 of us talking. And then I went to another housing meeting.
Where's the compost?
Where's okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
Compost. I don't have a cage and I have no compost. So anyway, so I've told the housing committee that we're trying to work the other things, that their stuff will get full focus, but we're working other things right now. So that's really the conversation I've had. But they have sent me some information. I am reviewing the information they've sent me. So that's housing. So okay. So excellent conversation. We have a lot of good stuff going on. So we should probably stick with our plan to meet in 2 weeks. I know we took a meeting off in the middle of the summer, but it sounds like a lot of stuff could be happening. So it sounds like we should definitely have our next meeting in 2 weeks. Anything else you want to talk about at this meeting? Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay. I think we're good. Do we have anybody want to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Hey, Connor. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for the excellent thoughts. And I feel like we're honing in on some stuff. And we're producing, it's exciting that stuff is being produced and ready to come out and be shared. So things are very, very close. So thank you all. And I think David seconded the adjourn. So we are adjourned. Thank you, and thank you, Ashley. So we'll talk in 2 weeks, everybody. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Leave.